Hello, ladies, and welcome to Last Line of Defense. Thank you for joining us today. Our study tonight is titled The Danger of a Cool Down Spirit. And I want to dedicate this study to my daughter, Rebecca Acevedo, who's an inspiration and just a total blessing in my life. So be blessed, mija, and we're going to get right into our study. Our study is in Deuteronomy 25. There's a passage there in verse 17, and I want to read it to you now. And it reads, Deuteronomy 25:17 reads, "Remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you were leaving Egypt, that he happened upon you on the way, and that he struck those of you who were hindmost, all of the weaklings at your rear, when you were faint and exhausted, and he did not fear God." Verse 19 reads, "It shall be that when your God gives you rest from all of your enemies from all around in the land that the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance to possess it, you shall wipe out the memory of Amalek from under the sun. You shall not forget." There's another verse in Numbers 24:20, and it's Balaam. He's doing his third prophecy, trying to curse the people of God. And as we know, some of you are familiar with that story, that it's not working. So in 24:20, he says, "He saw Amalek and declaimed his parable and said, Amalek is the first among nations, that its end will be eternal destruction." There is another verse here that I'm going to reserve for a little later, but also dealing with Amalek and that spirit that is prevalent today. And that spirit of Amalek is the embodiment of evil. Yet last night I shared on the theme how to deal with evil, how to be done with evil, how to deal with it and remove it. So Amalek again is the embodiment of evil, and that spirit is prevalent today, and it is widespread and frequently encountered almost everywhere like never before. We know what's going on in the news. We know that this week that Israel was involved in striking Lebanon, and then also taking out Hamas leader in Iran. So we know that things are really getting, increasingly difficult, and things are getting really hot. Why? Because evil is wanting to destroy. Evil is wanting to do more than just sin. We think about evil and we think about sins, regular sins, and not to minimize them or anything. Sin is sin, and there's punishment and consequences for it. But this thing, the sin that God is looking at when He's dealing with the spirit in the Bible, He's dealing with Amalek himself. Why? Because Amalek comes out. God just gave them, the Israelites, a huge victory in getting them out of Egypt, getting them out of slavery, getting them out of the bondage that they were in for so many years. And who shows up at the gate? The first one that is there is Amalek. Here's a nation that comes, and what he does is he attacks at the rear. So we're going to be looking into that because we read that Amalek had no fear of God. He had fear of people. Otherwise, his strategy would have been to hit, the armies, the Israelites in the front. But he made, it would have been a frontal attack. But he didn't fear God, So he hit the ones that were weak and, and exhausted and, and fainting. They were, the people that were feeble, they were tired, and he hit them at that time. And that was a really low class move, because God took it, as an insult, because he's fearing people. He won't attack at the front, but he doesn't respect God, so he's going to come for no reason. He had no reason to attack, The Israelites just barely came out, and they came out very strong, and they came out, they were going to be, feared by the nations. So his attack at the rear, kind of softened things up for other nations. They say, well, maybe they're not so bad. Maybe God is not, that much with them. Amalek, took them out. Amalek attacked them. So what we're wanting to do is, when I read 24:20, that verse, it says again that he prophesies and says, he declaimed this parable and said, this is Bilam, Amalek is the first among nations, but its end will be eternal instructions. That was the first nation, and that nation is hated more than, God loves the nation. The nations are his people. But of all the nations that have done evil, Amalek, when he's saying he's the first among nations, that means that this guy, is really bad news. He's the first one that attacked for no reason, and and he did the wrong thing. He did the wrong thing. So we're living in a time, we're hearing about the wars, we're hearing about this, and that's a big hot topic right now, because if you go on to the news, they're very honest and saying that we're not equipped for war. Our military, is not prepared that much for war. While China is getting, more military and, and looking to be the world power in military strength, we're not prepared. Why? Because the spirit of Amalek has come and has, targeted, and the spirit of Amalek only has one purpose, and that is to the destruction of civilization. And when I started to say, when we sin and and we mess up, or man sins or whatever, there's certain categories of sins, but there is one thing that causes God to decree punishment, for our nation, when we are involved in things that can end civilization as we know it. And biblical examples of that have been, when they got way out of hand in the time of Noah. We know the story. Every kid knows the story. That's one of them that they know. If they know Jonah and the whale, they know, Noah and the flood. And so it's very real. The people had gotten to a place where we have gotten, and maybe we've gotten a little beyond that, and God said, no, that's it. He caused the flood. When Sodom and Gomorrah, were just completely out of control, and and in the depths of immorality and all these things, God said, that's it, I'm sending an angel. He sent 2 angels to take care of business there. But why? Because those kind of sins, again, are not your everyday sins that we struggle with and try to correct and everything else. These are sins that can lead to the destruction, which is the main goal of Amalek, that spirit of civilizations. We look at things, and we're not what we used to be. Other countries had respect for us. Other countries, talked about, that our founding fathers, that, that our thing was, faith and belief in God, and God we trust, and everything else. We've moved way, way far from that. And there are people that, are continuing to, fight for what is right, and to do right, and to want justice. Thank God, there's so many. It's probably more of those than there is of this people that have been influenced and partake of what is going on in our nation. So correction and punishment is sure to come. Otherwise, Why wouldn't it? God's just going to look the other way? And this is the worst it's ever been. Our generation is looking at the worst of things now. So when Amalek comes and he strikes the people at the back, what it says there is that in verse 18, it says, he happened upon you. So tonight we're just going to look briefly at a couple of things that we can do to keep our fight, to keep our fire, really. Because when the Bible puts it out like that in verse 18, he happened upon you, it says the Hebrew word for happened upon you, happened, hints at, the word cool or cold. And so that was a strategy that Amalek used, to here they come, they're victorious, they're the strongest nation, the miracles that God did, they got God on their side and everything, and he struck them in the rear, in the rear of the armies of the people, and he hit hard, and the intention was cool them down, and to cause them to believe they're not so bad, and they're not so strong, and they're not nothing. So we want to know, we don't want that spirit of Amalek to cool us down. And so I've entitled this study, The Danger of a Cool Down Spirit. Now you might think, well, at least I'm not cold. No, cool is not so good. Not so good. You're on your way to cold. So you have to be careful with that. How do we keep our fire? We don't want to be cold. We don't, certainly worse, we don't want to be cool. We don't want our spirit to be cooled down, because then we look like the real thing, but there's nothing happening. So there are a couple of things. First of all, is that when we look at verse 17, the Bible is clear. It's a commandment. It's not a suggestion. It's not if you feel like it, or, if you think you're not too bad and you're okay. It's none of that. What it is a commandment, and it says in 17 to remember what Amalek did to you. On the way, you were already, on your way. You were on your way to the promise and the inheritance that God had given them, and we're on our way too. And so here comes these last 3 years, 3.5 years, and we're thinking, what the heck happened to our world? I heard that today, that California has put a law that you can't. Well, we already know about the transgender and what they're doing, and they want to take control. But today another law passed that if your kid comes in, your little boy comes in, and you send him to school in little pants or slacks or shorts or whatever, when you send him in, that he decides that he's going to put a dress on, and by law the teachers do not have to let the parent know. Well, did you know that your son has been wearing a dress, all week? Not allowed. So that's law, and that came in this week. So, we're looking at things, we look at, I don't even have to tell you, how the FBI came in when women stood up and, in those meetings and spoke up for their rights and everything else. They sent the FBI and wanted to arrest them and threatened them that they would be arrested for domestic terrorism. Crazy Things. Now we have the Queen of Abortion, running, as president, for president, and it's a crazy thing. That's the whole ticket that these people are going to be, pulling out. They're going to be riding on that. That's their strongest thing. And so what is this? What is this that now they want a baby? They're not going to determine the 6 weeks, whatever. No, they're going to let the baby be born in full term, and then 10 minutes before the baby's coming, the doctors are going to say, well, let's see what we're going to do now. And called murder. So never before did we see all this kind of stuff going on. The wars and, the terrorism and the open borders that have brought so many people that hate us, We say, no, it's all anti-Semitism. No. We know for years, for decades, what the cry of Hamas is, to kill, death to the big Satan and death to the little one, death to the USA and death to Israel. So we're looking at all this, and it's like, what the heck, what the heck? And then somebody's going to say, oh no, there's no spirit of Amalek, there's no, oh yes there is, and it's prevalent, and it's happening now. So how do we keep ourselves? We have to look at, it's a commandment. Again, it's not a suggestion, it's a commandment to remember. Remember what? Remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you were leaving Egypt. That verse 18, that he happened upon you on the way, and that he struck those of you who were hindmost at the back, all the weaklings at your rear, when you were faint and exhausted, and he did not fear God. We're looking at that going on right now. And so some of you have taken hits. I've taken hits. Some of you have taken, hits and beatings by this spirit, and it's cooled you down a little bit. Why? Because, it knocks all the air out of you, But during all this pandemic and all these lies, wear a mask and get in line and 6 feet, and you can't, funerals that had took place, you couldn't bury your loved ones, you couldn't visit them at the hospital, you got a video call. All of this stuff that went on, is designed to destroy, a civilization. When they don't want, the family unit, family values, when they don't want to give religious rights, and when they pay people to come here, and make havoc on our cities, burn down cities and do everything else, and then, it's just crazy. I can go on and on and on, and time will not allow, because every day it's something new. Every day, we're left with our mouth open, and what the heck is going on here? So God is saying, and it's a commandment, remember what Amalek did. I'm never going to forget, what went on these 2 years. I was coming in from Israel in 2020, and I came in, like sick, and I came in like tired, and I came in, just really, really going through a lot of things with my daughter, and granddaughter. They're under very bad circumstances and not able to return home. So I'm never going to forget. Oh, Rachel, you should just forget and forget. I can't. Why? Because I have a commandment. When we get hit like that, when our families get hit especially, you're not only commanded to remember, that aside from remember, you're forbidden to forget their hatred. People that have come and done so much damage, to our homes, to our values, to, our rights, taken our rights, and habitually lied to us, news media that fed us this and fed us that. People are getting smart now. They're not going for, all these news that, give us nothing but lies. What we have to do is that do things that are going to keep us fired up and fighting for what is ours. We have an inheritance, and the Bible says when you come to that land, that I'm going to give you, we have to fight. So what is, how can I know if I'm cooled down? I mean, I'm still the same. I still love God. I still read when I have time. I read the Bible when I have time. I try to help people, but, I don't have time. And, and as far as this economy, my giving and, and helping others, it's limited. So how can we keep from getting cooled down? How? We have to understand what that condition does to us. First, it'll take your inspiration. You used to be so inspired, about, God. You couldn't walk out and see, a sunrise, or, look out your window and see a sunset and not, man, how inspiring. Yesterday I received a picture. I always get the same picture from my sister Diane, and I look at it and I say, oh my gosh, this is San Bernardino, right? In her backyard, and I have like 7 of them. She takes a picture of palm trees, and when the sun is setting, and they're very tall and strong and beautiful, and the sunset behind it. I said, I get inspired, And I said, it's just a picture, it's just a picture from the porch. And no. It's a picture of God's creation. It's a picture that, inspires and reminds you that He's in charge. So when you're cooled down, you can look at a picture. What's that? There's a car under it. There's a tree. No, you lose that. When you're cooled down, you lose that inspiration. Inspiration to, to sing and to, create, and use your creative juices to, make a poem or, write a letter or, do a good deed, do a mitzvah. You lose that inspiration when you're cooled down. You lose your passion. There's a lot of people, they're studying, and, and that's all they're into. I got to get my education. While this guy is forgiving debt and all that, that's not going to happen, and fighting the courts and everything else. Why? Because he wants the vote of the youth. So he's promising, debt forgiveness, loan forgiveness for, colleges and everything else, but we have to do things ourselves. So we're going to have to work. Education is very important. You're going to have to work. But I know people that have, dozens, of certificates and degrees and all that. They have a lot of degrees, but no temperature. They lost their passion. So while all of that is good, do what is right. Do it right and do it the right way. When you lose, when you cool down and you lose the fire in your spirit, you lose vitality and your enthusiasm, and you become a cold personality. Man, she used to laugh a lot. She used to make us laugh, and she was always happy. You could always hear her singing. You could all this. You lose all of that. Your vitality and your enthusiasm is lost. Now she's on a bum trip. Oh, here she comes. Let me get, I gotta go. Oh, my phone. Nobody's calling you on your phone, but when you see people like that, you get on your phone. Hello, and you fake the font. Why? Because that person that used to be so alive and so vibrant and and so enthused about life now has a cold personality. We don't want to lose that, Keep your joy. The book, The Joy of the Lord is My Strength. We read it, we sang it, we lived it, and when we were down, we said, no, I got to get up because, I'm feeling weak in my spirit. So the call is to remember Amalek's goal, that the goal for Amalek, the spirit of Amalek, and what is going on in our nation right now is the goal is the destruction of civilization, and God has big qualms about that. He's not going to allow that to happen. He'll be rid of civilizations. How many civilizations have not, lasted, The Jewish civilization has lasted, through all kinds of, persecution and deaths and everything else. And why? Because the Jewish nation, and many of you, beautiful, people that love God, you've just kept it. You've kept yourself. You've kept yourself strong. You've kept yourself in the book. You've kept yourself, from crazy things that are happening now. So how do we keep our fire? You understand that the commandment says to remember. Your psychiatrist will tell you forgive and forget. Well, that might work for them, but my book says remember. Why? Why does it say that? Because there's going to be an occasion possibly where you're going to be tempted to treat somebody like you were treated. Well, they did that to me. I don't care about them, they did it to me, and I'm still here. I'm still alive. That's a wrong attitude. And when you remember what Amalek did to you, and you heed to that commandment, and you understand that it's forbidden to forget their hatred, their animosity, their enmity, and all those things, then you're not going to treat that person. Why? Because you're going to remember the pain that they caused you, your children, your loved ones, people that are dear to you. You're going to remember that, and it's going to keep you from doing that to someone else. Verse 19, what is another thing? Command here, how we're going to keep our fire and not, cool down. Verse 19 says, he says, wipe out his memory. So how do I forget? And then I gotta wipe out his memory, but then I have to remember? I don't get it. Remember or wipe out? What do we do? You have to wipe out all of these things, because again, we're understanding the destruction of civilization is the goal for right now, the people that are running stuff right now. That's the goal. That's why it seems like, people say, man, this is like a communist, a country. What the heck happened here? People are leaving, they're leaving New York in droves. California's not, much better. And, people are going what the heck? How do you get away from this? Well, when you understand the goal, it's not going to cool you down. It's going to provoke you to do something about it. We always had the saying, Anna always used to say it, she said it, I don't know who coined it, but she would say it, and she says, when you're born in fire, you never settle for smoke. And so she was born with the teachings of her father, the teachings of her mother, the teachings, that, were able to, put that conviction and more importantly, that love for God. So you got to wipe out the memory. How do we do that? We're commanded to do that, not just, I put that out of my mind. No, you're not supposed to, number one. But when you wipe out the memory, you do it orally. There's a lot of people that don't know what's going on. Why? Because other people keep their mouths shut. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to do this. I don't talk politics or religion to people that don't want to hear that, because I don't want to hear it if that person does not know what the heck they're talking about, And so we have to put it out orally. Before, years ago, a lot of damage was done to my family and I. Nothing that we didn't survive, After my husband passed away, there was nothing bigger than that. Everything else that came, oh well, you're going to deal with it. We're dealing with the big one, the loss and absence of my husband, and his protection and his love. How many times did we say, oh, if Dad was here? How many times have I heard, if Dad, this would never be happening. If Cal was here, it would never be happening. But it was happening. So keeping focused on that. Not the pain of it, but just continuing to do the work, a holy work for God. It just kept me that when people would come and these people or this organization or that, they're getting so blessed, they got this, they got that, God is blessing them. And I just used to smile and just say, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, good. God bless them. I stopped saying that a long time ago, because when people don't know what is going on, a lot of people, well, I don't talk politics, and this is not a political sermon. This is about a judgment, punishment that is going to come to America. Why? Because the government has just taken everything down, dismantled everything that is good and just and right and godly. And so, of course, there has to be punishment. There has to be punishment. But we have merits. As Americans, we have merits because, number one, we've helped other countries, not like the help that they're getting, the wrong countries that are getting help now. But we have, the biggest thing to me is that, our religious freedom, and that's under attack. That's under heavy duty attack. And for us, as for Jews, this is a place where, we have been blessed, and we have been given every right to exercise our faith and to teach and to set up communities and to do everything that is pleasing to God. We have not been, held back in any way. So we have merits. And God is looking, and at the same time on that thought, and the thought is to wipe out the memory orally. People have to get informed. Tell your families, oh, well, I don't care, and it doesn't matter. That either or mentality, that either or attitude is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. It's not about either or. Get informed and find out what is happening in your community. Find out what is going on with over 500, kids coming in, being brought in by the drug cartel and being sold, being trafficked all over. Get informed about, the atrocities that are happening, in your city. In all of our cities. New York, we have the most migrants that have come in. It's like 200,000 that have come in, and they've come in, and and they're giving everything that they need, and so a lot of times they feel a little entitled, and I'm not even going to mess with that. But there's a lot of people that are seeing things that are not right. It's not good. It's not good, and this is the way when you stop. When you hear people that are leaders, in the White House saying, oh yeah, we got to get rid of the population, we got to get rid of police, we got to get rid of, ICE, we got to get rid of, we got to just open the doors, we got to get informed, because the decisions you make are going to affect you. Why? Because you can't blame the government for the chaos, the horrific things that are going on in our country. You can't blame the government. Why? Because 50% of the population endorses that. They endorse those policies, and they're with it. And so judgment is certain to come. So we have to speak about it. We have to wipe out Amalek's memory. And how do you do it? By giving truth. People talking everything, like Cal used to say, people talking out of the side of their neck. They don't even know what they're talking about. And and they're influencers, wherever, on TikTok, on whatever. They're influencers, and they don't know what they're talking about, and all they're talking about is hate and everything else. And God is saying, remember what that cost you. Remember whose life it cost. Remember what happened. Remember that, your daughter or your child or, or your mother lost their mind and, and suffered, because of, certain emotional blows or whatever was going on. So we have to understand the goal. And the goal is the destruction of civilization. We have to make right decisions. And it's not all on the government. Those people were put in because we put them there. We put them there. The majority of the population put them there. So get informed. Get informed. And let's wipe out their memory, because they want to wipe out civilization. And God, again, that's the one thing that He's not going to tolerate. And everything that is going on right now is just horrific. So how do you keep, your fire, ladies? The way that you keep your fire is that you continue to fight. Don't give up. You may be rum dum, Cal used to love boxing, every big deal boxing, all the men were there. They throw us out to the kitchen to prepare snacks for them, and they'd be in there. I mean, it was a big night, but he would always say, the way that, look at him, look at his legs, they would punch. I don't know that much about boxing. I like it, but I don't know that much about it. And he would say he's going to weaken his legs. Once he weakens his leg and gets him rum dum, it's over. It's all over. And we've been taking hits, and we've been taking blows to the head. We've been taking blows, left and right. And with everything that has happened, during the pandemic and throughout these years, and you got to think, wasn't life a little bit better 4 years ago? I mean, we weren't dealing with none of this. None of it. Not in an open, no holds barred way like it's happening right now in your face. And if you say anything about it, oh, we're not messed up, you're messed up. That's how you think. That's what you do. And it's not, it's just a whole thing, a whole strategy that has us in this condition. I challenge you ladies, get informed, find out what's going on, because this spirit is not going just yet, but it is going. So I want to end this study in a little in a very positive way, that although we're still involved, we need to get determined, okay, I got knocked down, and and they punched my lights out, and I lost a few teeth and whatever, get up. If you've had that cold spirit on you that is keeping you, down, and with no enthusiasm, no passion, no, interest, no nothing, get up. Examine, do a self-examination today and say, what happened to me? I wasn't like this. People used to love me. People used to call me. People used to invite me. Could it be that you got cooled down, that the spirit of Amalek cooled you down, and now you don't even want to be with yourself? You don't even like yourself. One thing that I've always said is that I like myself. People say, wow, how could you live alone for so many years? And I like me. I like my company. I always say that. And I do. But I also love my family. And I like to be around them. And I like to be around friends. And I love people. Any kind of people. Strangers, people that, need help. But we have to get our fight back. How? You got to get your fire back. You got to get that back, because Amalek took that. And the other night I was saying that Cal used to say, to the Satan, you ain't getting nothing. You're not going to take nothing from me. You ain't getting nothing because you ain't got nothing coming. Period. So we continue to fight. In Exodus 17:14, I'm going to read a few scriptures, but what we find is that Joshua is wanting to get in, and he takes on that battle with Amalek. He takes on that battle, and he's fighting, and sometimes he's losing. He's losing. So what the Bible says is that Moses was up on the hill, and he was watching the battle, and he was praying with his hands up. And as he prayed, they would get more and more victory. There's got to be people praying for you, Don't trust these self-made leaders or pastors or spiritual, self-made, whatever you want to call them, spiritual leaders. Don't trust everyone. Oh, but it was heavy. They gave a process. Trust God and have people around you, and they don't have to be leaders, but that are praying for you and encouraging you in the fight, not telling you, why do you keep trying? Forget about that. They never helped you. Those people didn't help you. Forget about all that. That life is over. Anyway, you're too messed up to live that life. Really? You're going to be around those. That's an Amalek spirit that is trying to cool you down, and if it cooled you down, then it wants you dead and cold. So fight. You have to fight. And so as Joshua is fighting Amalek, he's there and he's fighting. And when Moses getting tired, his hands go down and they begin to be defeated. You know the story. Come on, you know the book. And so Aaron, every time Aaron and would lift up his hands, they would begin to win again. So aside from having people, real people that love God, I have so many friends and they're so beautiful and they love God, and they just love God. I know, I've known them for years. We have a lot of history together, so I can say that because I know them well. Yeah. Hi, Mary Helen and Mario. Hi, Linda. I mean, I know people that are so genuine with their love for God, and so I want to close with reading this passage here, 17:14. God spoke to Moses, and he said, write this as a remembrance in the book and recite it in the ears of Joshua, that I shall surely erase the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. Verse 15, Moses built an altar and called its name, God is my miracle. And verse 16 says, and he said, for the hand is on the throne of God, and God maintains a war against Amalek from generation to generation. That sounds like this battle is not all ours. We need people, genuine people that love God and know how to make contact with God, and to help us to fight and to pray for us. But we also need to understand that this battle is an eternal struggle, that God says that, that it will remain. He said, for the hand is on the throne of God, and God maintains a war against Amalek from generation to generation. You're not fighting alone. Be encouraged. You're feeling all that. I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. I don't know what it is. I just feel something. I'm struggling. I can't, and man, I feel like I'm going down. I don't even know how to explain. Get in your prayer closet and talk to God, and get around people that know how to make contact with God, because people have a lot of talk, and sometimes that's not working. So understand, if you understand anything, the Bible says that when Moses wrote that the hand is on God's throne, that he used the Hebrew words, with less, not all the full name of God. And that's an indication that, that it's like incomplete. God's not done. That the throne, it's almost, it uses the word like diminished, if that can ever happen. But it's stating that the throne of God is diminished until God strikes Amalek and annihilates him and is done with him. So that sounds like a guaranteed victory. That, not a temporary one, a guaranteed, and it's coming, ladies. And so what we have to do is keep our fight. So I hope that you've been encouraged. I hope that you begin to read more and pray more and do more and do a self-assessment. Where am I at? I haven't. I used to get all inspired. I used to get all happy, to do things for God. I used to love the service of God, and now it's maybe, the spirit of Amalek with all the hits you're taking. He was low class enough to go when you were at the rear, when you were weak and when you were tired. You had to serve years of slavery and and forced to serve the Pharaoh. Now we have a choice. Get involved. Interesting that a lot of people may not know. And I just recently found out that the name Kamala, when it's written in Hebrew, is Amalek. Look it up. And so be careful. Be careful who you get all, don't be so influential. Don't be so vulnerable, and don't be so, oh yeah. Find out the leadership that we want. Are they people that are praying, or people that are taking everything down, dismantling all God's order and trying to destroy and disrupt the plan of God for his people. I love you. I'll be sharing with you again this week. Well, not this week, but possibly Monday. Please put some comments. I don't even know if I have a subscribe button on there. I got a lot of views yesterday, which was nice, and you're going to see me more often. Why? Because we're in those times. We're in evil times, and God is getting it. All of this is God dealing with us, dealing with this country, the United States, dealing with us because we're supposed to and always have been an example, at least of, moral, clarity and direction and strength. And, God made us very wealthy, God made us very, we didn't make ourselves very, God did this. And so now, we're going through this because he's cleaning house and he's getting ready to throw the final blow on Amalek. I love you. God bless you. And I hope, send me a comment or a topic that you would like more information on. And I hope to hear from you soon. God bless you.